हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती दीनामवित्रयवतो गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै हरिः ओम्।
I offer my most humble pranams and prayerful salutations at the divine lotus feet of our most beloved Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Dearest elders, loving brothers and sisters, Om Shri Sai Ram. My name is Ratan Govender, the Veda person for Zone 9A, encompassing all of Africa. And I welcome you to this very first Veda webinar for this new year. For the very first time in our organization, webinars on the topic of Vedas have been coordinated during the course of last year. These webinars provided insights on the eternal echoes of the Vedas to all members of our organization by addresses of esteemed speakers organized by the International Young Adults Veda Training Program. This has indeed been a beautiful blessing that our ever-loving Swami has afforded to each and every one of us. These webinars have inspired all of us to continue to practice the eternal teachings of the Vedas. Let us all remember continuously the words of our beloved Veda Purusha, delivered on the 23rd of November, 1968. My main task is the re-establishment of the Vedas and the Sastras, and revealing the knowledge about them to all people. This task will succeed. It will not be limited. It will not be slowed down. When the Lord decides and wills, his divine will cannot be hindered. I have come to instruct all in the essence of the Vedas, to shower on all this precious gift, to protect the ancient wisdom, Sanatana Dharma, and preserve it. It is with love and gratitude at the divine lotus feet of our most beloved Swami that we introduce you to our esteemed speakers for this webinar. Dr. Tenali Gnana Bhaskar is an alumnus of the Sri Sathya Sai University. He joined the Sri Sathya Sai Junior College in 1980 and graduated with a PhD in mathematics in 1990. At Swami's command, he served as a faculty member at the Math Department during 1990 to 1992. Prior to moving to the USA, he was a faculty member of the Department of Mathematics, IIT Delhi, for 8 years, and is currently a professor of mathematics at Florida Institute of Technology, Melbourne. He learned and taught Veda chanting at Puttaparthi. Dr. Bhaskar served as the president of Region 3, Zone 1 of the Sathya Sai International Organization during the years 2013 to 2017. Our next speaker is Professor Bivi Rathish Kumar, who was born in a Sai family and grew up singing, witnessing, hearing, and drinking his nectarine messages and glory. Again, through the divine blessings in the guise of loving care, intense prayer, and inspiration from his parents, he received the rare opportunity to join Swami's Junior College in 1980. He joined the Sri Sathya Sai Junior College in 1980 and graduated with a PhD in 1993. During 1993 to 1994, Professor Rathish Kumar was given the divine opportunity to teach at the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning in Prashantaniyam. Subsequently, he moved to IIT Kanpur and is currently a professor there. During his stay, he was divinely inspired and bountifully blessed to be part of the Prashanti Vedam group from 1980 to 1994. We welcome Dr. Bhaskar and Professor Rathish Kumar and request our two brothers to address us all. Jai Sai Ram.
Om Ganeshaya Namaha Saraswatyai Namaha Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Loving pranams at the lotus feet of our dear Lord Sai Vedamata. It's indeed a divine opportunity for us to be chosen to be the part of this Veda Parayana Satsang. We are extremely thankful to the YA team for having extended this great opportunity to us through Bhagwan's divine inspiration and blessing. We are especially thankful to Brother Agman Gupta, Sister Ingrid, Brother Sarthak, Brother Raghav, Sister Priya, Brother Raitan for coordinating this whole activity and for bringing us to this forum. Sai Ram. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Om Namaste Rudramanya Vavuto Taishave Namaha. Namaste Astu Dhanvane Bahubhyamutate Namaha. Yataishu Shivatama Shivam Bhavovate Danuhu. Shiva Sharavyaya Tavataya no Rudra Mridaya. Yate Rudra Shiva Tanura Gora Papakashini. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Shri Sai Ram. I offer my most prayerful salutations at the divine lotus feet of Bhagavan. I pray that he inspire the right thoughts and the right words in both of us and invoke his divine grace and blessings on everyone. Sai Ram, Ratish.
Sai Ram, Bhaskar. It is indeed a great opportunity, a wonderful blessing for both of us to be the part of this unique event. Why do you think Swami has brought us into this forum of Vedic learning? Maybe for that we should go back to our very first day in Prashantanilayam. Do you recall the way the Swami has drawn us into this great movement, into this great Vedic vibration? Do you recall that, Bhaskar?
Sai Ram, Ratish. Indeed, it's a great privilege for us to think back to the times when we joined Prashantanilayam campus as students when we were just 15 years old. And we were there in a spiritually surcharged atmosphere with so many activities at the college and very many different activities going on at the ashram. We were so thrilled to be there in that surcharged atmosphere. And so many activities were going on, and we could have taken to any one of those extracurricular activities that were part of our lives then. Your question is, why did we choose to learn Vedas? So my reason, as I think back to those days of 1980, is that once Swami visited the old hostel, which was part of the East Prashanti Mandir, and we were there, about 60 or 80 students as a part of the gathering. And I was just sitting there in the audience, and I noticed that as Swami entered the hall, there were a few of our brothers who were there at the very front, trying to chant were chanting something and inviting Swami and bringing Swami along with them to the dais. So I was really surprised, and when I inquired, I learned that these are our own brothers, some of them probably our classmates, and then they were actually chanting some Vedic mantras and inviting Swami. So I thought, that's a great opportunity for us to be nearer to Swami, to take me closer to Swami. So my basic motivation was, let me also learn these Vedic chants so that I can get to be close to Swami. In fact, that was the driving force behind any activity that was done in Prashantanilayam. So my motivation was that. How about yours?
That's a wonderful query that you have asked me, Bhaskar. If I were to go back to my childhood, I should definitely, first of all, place my loving pranams at Bhagwan's feet for giving me the opportunity to be born in a Sai family. For the entire humanity, Bhagwan, the divine Lord, has always blessed the entire mankind with something called a home. We have, the home is nothing but verily a loving care, which has manifested and blessed to each and every human being, wherein God himself, in the form of mother, father, brother, sister, relative, and a well-wisher. So as it is rightly said in Vedas, Matrudevo Bhava, Pitrudevo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atiti Devo Bhava, which means to say that your mother is verily God, your father is verily God, your teacher is verily God, all the bandhus, your brothers, sisters, and all the well-wishers with whom you have grown up, they are all very much the reflection of God. In fact, the mantra that we started, Sahana Bhavatu, in fact, the very essence of it is we all grow together, we all share together, we all sing together, and that's how we should grow. In fact, to be blessed in a Sai family is that I got introduced right from my childhood to the various activities of Bhagwan. To begin with, I had a very good fortune of being a Bal Vikas student right from the beginning. I do not know at what age I joined Bal Vikas, but I was definitely through the class 1, class 2, class 3 of Bal Vikas, and I used to visit Parthi several times, along with the group of the students with Bal Vikas teachers to take, and also with my mother and father. And I had the divine blessing to witness the great grandeur Veda Parayana those days, the Veda Purusha Saptaha Yagna those days, which as a small kid, I did not understand anything of it, but all that I could see is the wonderful vibration that it has created. People were lost in that bliss. And my teacher, parents, sisters, everybody encouraged that such should be the vibration which should go in all of us. When we get an opportunity, we should definitely not miss it. In fact, it is a divine blessing that has guided me, and by his blessing through in the form of parents' inspiration, in the form of my sister's inspiration, I had the rare opportunity of getting close to Bhagwan and join his college. It's all his divine blessing. Swami has several different ways to bless us, and this was the way in which he was brought in. So he has already laid this seed of so-called Veda Parayana, the importance of it, what it could do to the person, because I grew up listening to that, and he has nurtured it very nicely. When I got into the Sathya Sai Junior College, as you rightly mentioned, the very first event that we witnessed, we both of us joined together, and we had the great opportunity to welcome Swami. We were all seated, and Swami was brought in to the old hostel, which is old boys hostel, which is right in front of Swami's mandir, and Swami could always see us. You remember Swami used to, when he comes out on the veranda on the top floor, you could always see us, who is who, what we are doing. We could have eye-to-eye contact directly. Swami will see us. That was a wonderful opportunity. And when Swami, all the way from Mandir, was brought by our brothers chanting Veda Parayan, I was really reminded of all the things which I have seen. I thought this was a wonderful opportunity. And when the announcement came, all those who were interested could join. I think the divine inspiration, the divine seed, which was already there, it has again been fanned. The spark which Bhagwan has put in all of us, probably he fanned it a little more so that it can become a bigger spark, probably a fire. So he has started the thought that should be the part of it, and he has nurtured it, and that spark was fanned at that point of time, and that's how I could get into this great movement of Veda group of our Parthi days. I remember we were the first few set of Parthi students who had this rare opportunity to be the part of this Vedam group. Do you recall those wonderful days?
Yes, in fact, Swami was orchestrating this entire Vedic learning process at that time, I think, by actually making Shivashankar Sai, our Veda guru, move from Vrindavan. He was a student there prior to that, and he finished his undergraduate program, and he was asked to come to Prasanthi Nilayam to join his master's program. So Shivasankar Sai is a person who learned himself Vedam from Sri Kamadhani Garu, and he joined our hostel right at that time, and he wanted to. He was prompted to share his Vedic learning with whoever is interested, and there was an announcement that was made, and just about that time, Shivasankar Sai coming to Prasanthi Nilayam, the announcement for whoever is interested in learning Vedic chants are welcome. And imagine, as such, the number of students were few, as in not even 200 students probably, but we were just like 8 or 9 students from those few classes of students, and we started to sign up for it, and that's how the whole thing started. And I must thank our own brother and our Veda Guru, Dr. Shivasankar Sai, for teaching us these things, which really, this knowledge that he imparted to us continues to be with us and continues to inspire us and continues to be a part and parcel of our daily lives. So I'm really grateful to Shivasankar Sai for doing this. And you remember how we used to have those Veda classes in those days?
Bhaskar, I definitely join you in thanking Brother Shivasankar Sai, Professor Shivasankar Sai, for teaching us Vedam. In fact, the way we learnt Veda is through inspiration that we have derived through this process. If you recall, the way we learnt Veda was through the wonderful example that our brother Shivasankar Sai has set for us. If you recall, our schedule used to be extremely tight. Get up in the morning, 5 o'clock. Once again, brothers like Shivasankar Sai and Sundaresh, all these brothers used to wake us up, and we were up. And after Suprabhatam, we go to the ground, and after our morning jogging, so on and so forth, we used to be back and get ready after breakfast to the institute prayer. We hardly had any time left. So, but then in that time period, we had some half an hour left before the institute prayer. The way our brother Shivasankar Sai is organized is, in that half an hour, we should not spend time in other chit-chatting or any other thing. Go to the institute, and he used to be before us. In fact, he was busy with so many hostel activities, so many institute activities, which Swami has already given it to him, and the institute has given it to him. And as a senior student, senior brother in the hostel, the way he was busily organizing various things along with all other senior brothers, they had so much of dedication and devotion for Swami's students, and we were part, they were something like, it was like a family. So he knew something which was very precious, and he wanted to pass it on, just as our own brothers in our house and our own people, the way they feel that if something fantastic they know, they would like to pass it on to their family. And that was the kind of the feeling which has generated a special kind of interest, which is nothing but love for Swami. The love for Swami manifested in the form of various activities. Whatever little time we had, the way he used to be so punctual, even before we could go there, by 8:15 sharp, he used to be there. And all of us used to rush because our guru is going, and the way he finishes his breakfast and he has to go there to his lab and then set everything and then be ready there. When guru is rushing, guru is going, is not with so much of love to teach us, because he's offering that as a puja to Bhagwan. And we were automatically drawn, whether we were ready or not, we were also immediately prompted to go. Our teacher is going. He was a role model for us. He was really setting an example, and that example we followed. And we went there. The way he taught in that half an hour, time was short. And if you recall the wonderful veranda where we used to sit in the first floor of our institute, on the one side there used to be math, physics departments, and the other side used to be our classrooms and lengthy verandas, wherein we used to sit. Some of the teachers used to walk past when we were chanting that, but all the teachers were so very happy. The whole institute used to be vibrant with that. And everybody whoever used to come, all the people who used to work in the institute used to feel very happy that we are chanting Vedam. And they used to be very, very encouraging for the whole activity. So what I wanted to say here is the commitment and the love and the dedication which was offered by Brother Shivashankar Sai, by all the members, all the teachers, in fact, who facilitated this whole activity to happen, was a wonderful, conducive atmosphere which has been generated. The very first lesson that I always inspires me is the commitment, the dedication, the love. So love in action it was. It was a puja to Swami. It was an action. Since it was love for the Bhagwan, it has automatically become a disciplined, committed activity. Because it was such a disciplined, committed activity, it went on to inspire youngsters like us who were very new to that. We were automatically drawn without knowing that we are being taught a wonderful lesson through the simple practice of going on time and learning. Do you remember the way we used to manage the time in the afternoons?
Yes, yes. So it was such a nice thing that we found half an hour time before college starts. And then during the lunch break, we used to have a 1 hour break. And we very quickly finish our lunch in half an hour and rush to the college again to sit in that place on the corridor that you nicely described. And again, we squeeze that 15 minutes time to practice or learn something new. Then again, at the end of the day, once we finish bhajans at the mandir, we return. While every other student is going back to the hostel, we go to college and we spend another half an hour before dinner trying to chant and learn. And so every single day, 3 times a day, 15 minutes here, half an hour there, 20 minutes there. That's how we learned these chants. And that tells me that, this is such a, we didn't probably realize what was happening at that time. But looking back, I can see that we never said, oh, I'm busy with my college work, I have to do this homework, or there is an exam coming up. We never thought those things. 15 minutes here, 20 minutes here, half hour there was all that was needed to make a regular 3 times a day practice to learn these chants, simply because this was an activity that was bringing us close to Bhagwan, nearer to Bhagwan. So it is not necessary that somebody has to have hours of time slotted for this activity. Once we know the value and importance of this activity, then wherever we can snatch a few minutes of time, we were doing that. And I again credit that to the commitment and the dedication of our teacher, Veda Guru Shivashankar Sai, for doing that. Even if some of us were to lag behind, he would say, come on, let's go, let's do this. And I just want to also add that the first time that Swami, that we chanted, what we learned was Mantra Pushpam, just a small piece of Mantra Pushpam, actually. And Swami came to the college at that time. I think Swami just had inaugurated the college building. And then Swami came to the college and we were receiving him from the time Swami got down from the car to the dais in the auditorium. And it was such a thrill and such a joy and a blessing. And I remember, in spite of all these three times a day practice sessions and learning sessions, if Swami is coming, then we would all gather and practice it again and again, and 10 times maybe. And Shivashankar Sai will make sure that we are standing properly and our posture is good, our everything at hair is good. And so all these minute details, just so that we give our very best to Bhagwan. So those were the most exciting times. All these 3 times practice every single day never seemed like a chore for us. It was all a blessing. It was all worth the time and the effort just to receive that 15 minutes of time with Bhagwan, where we are leading him. And Swami made sure that he appreciated these efforts and that he wants us to continue doing it by giving us Pada Namaskar every single time that we did this chanting in front of Swami.
That's very well explained, Bhaskar. I think especially I would like to go back to the afternoon sessions. So you remember we used to have 15 minutes of time before our classes would start. In the 15 minutes of time, the way Brother Shivashankar Sai used to organize the sessions is, we were 8 of us. So like in the Vedic culture, so the Guru and Sishya Parampara, the way the Guru says and the Shishyas repeat, he never used any books. We were also not allowed to see any book. We were listening directly. By listening, we were learning the intonations, the Anudata and Udattas and Swaritas, the way he corrected us several times. Each one, we never used to go very fast. We used to chant sloka by sloka and used to make sure that each and every one of us repeat it individually in front of him, and he used to correct us. In fact, that's how in the Vedic culture, if we were to look back, that's how the teacher and the students sit together and they learn it in the typical Vedic style, which we never knew. What is Vedic style? We never knew. But this is how he was taught, very patiently, very lovingly. He used to teach us any number of times. We would have made mistakes because some of us were new to Sanskrit. Uttering Sanskrit words were difficult, but so lovingly he corrected us. So lovingly he made us wherever we, to the extent that he knew, he tried to teach us. I also remember the wonderful thing is all our brothers in the institute, all our teachers used to be very happy seeing us attending the Veda class and go back. In fact, after the afternoon classes, especially after the lunch, anybody will feel little lethargy and probably feel in the class maybe a little relaxed. But do you recall, to our surprise, we never found it that way. Probably, not probably, definitely Vedas as definitely chanting Vedam as charged us. When we were into the class, we were fresh. We were able to attend all the classes. In fact, all of our brothers who were involved in different activities, they were all doing with the loving dedication. All of us were charged, and all of us used to be always fully charged when we go to Mandir or when we're in the hostel. That vibrant energy used to be always prevailing everywhere. In fact, I am reminded of this wonderful saying, but Bhagavan says, Ihamuna tariyampa hemataraka vidya, paramuna tarayampa brahma vidya, which goes to say that for this existence in the world, you require the worldly education and you require the parama vidya for your spiritual growth. Don't you think? For us, for both you and me and several other brothers who got into Veda, we were imparted this Brahma Vidya. There was in our institute, there used to be a wonderful mixture of these two things. Various different of us were, some to the singing, some to the service, and some through the dedicated planning and taking charge of so many things. So both the things were nicely mixed. In fact, we had this opportunity to be a part of Veda. It's very true with all of our brothers in different activities too. So, Ihamuna tariyampa hemataraka vidya, paramuna tariyampa brahma vidya. Unknowingly, we never even know that Swami, such a master planner, has planned it like that. Our every minute was so very surcharged with this, which we never realized. If you sit back and reflect, I don't know what to say. What a blessing it is to be in such an atmosphere. What do you say, Bhaskar?
Yes, I'm glad that you mentioned about the manner in which he was teaching. He wasn't using the book. None of us were having the books. He would say it and we repeat it. And truly in the spirit of the Vedic learning, Veda being called as a Shruti, that which is learned by hearing and sound and the vibration alone. So that was very nice. And therefore, it took a long time for us to learn these chants. So, but we were never in a rush that, oh, I need to learn this today and then by tomorrow and things like that. So we took our time. And that takes me to the time we started learning Rudram as time went by. I think in about a year or a year and a half, we started learning Rudram. And the first Anuvaka of Rudram alone took 3 months for us to learn. And when we say learn, it is just hear and repeat, get the mistakes corrected. So if 8 of us are sitting and we repeat as a group several times, and then once we start getting familiar, each one he would ask, okay, you chant this line, and then next person chants the next line, and so on. So these are the same line sometimes. So everybody is getting to repeatedly hear the same thing being said and the intonations and the words. So that process of learning is unique to this Vedic knowledge, because from thousands of years ago, it was transmitted not by writing books and reading books, but merely by listening to the sound and the way it is being uttered. So it was in true spirit of Vedic culture. So I remember I can see 2 different thoughts coming up, but let me first say this. We spent 3 months learning just the one Anuvaka of Rudram, right? Then what happened? Do you remember that?
Yes. So when we learned this first 2 Anuvakas, our brother Shivshankar Sai was so very careful that we learn it carefully, no mistake in Ucharana, no mistake in any intonation. She took so much of care that we learnt it. And when we went, see, it was almost the time of Veda Purusha Saptaha Yajna. So Bhagwan had willed that all the Veda boys, both from Prashantilayam and Whitefield campus, should join all the Pandits in the procession, go to the Chitravati and come back on the Purnahuti day and receive Swami and take Swami in the procession all the way to Purnachandra Auditorium to the Yagnashala. So Swami wanted all the boys to chant Rudra. From Prashantilayam, 8-9 of us who were there, I think we only knew first two Anuvakas, and we were really scared when Swami said, all of you have to get ready, and it was already Veda Prasaptaha Yajna was going on. There were 4 days left for the Purnahuti, and all of us were very worried, what will happen now? And Swami wanted all of us to chant, and that too with the Pandits. That too with the Pandits whom Swami has specially chosen, the blessed Pandits who knew with a lot of Veda knowledge and who were chanting Rudram and doing every day the Parayana, doing the Yajna in front of Bhagwan. So we were all very much worried and praying Bhagwan. You know, Bhagwan also, when he wills it, he also has a divine plan. I remember the way he has inspired. When Swami has uttered it, Swami's message, Swami's word is very life for our brothers. I recall Brother Shivashankar Sai, Brother Nandagopal, Brother Vednarayan, Brother Bhimeshwar. These were all the brothers from Whitefield who were already taught Veda. Namakam, they have learnt it from Vairag Shastri Garu. And they all said, it is Swami's command and it is our life breath. All of them came together. We are going to teach our rest of the brothers. So they had the thought, word and deed for them was to live Swami's word, to carry out Swami's message. And all of us learned that Namakam within the 4 days, while we took 3 long months to learn the first 2 Anuvakas. Our brothers took turn immediately after we go back to the hostel. From the time we go back to the hostel, all of us were made to sit. And these brothers is to take turns so that we are continuously engaged till the time we go back to the mandir to learn Vedas and with perfect intonation. I still remember how Shivashankar Sai sir, Vednarayan sir, Bhimeshwar Sharma sir, and Nandagopalan sir took turns. In particular, Nandagopalan sir used to say, this is a Swami's command and it has to happen. They lived. Thought, word and deed was just that Swami's command. They lived and they thought and they made sure on the Purnahuti day, we all chanted all the 11 Anuvakas. That was wonderful vibration, and I can never forget the way we were taught with so much of love and dedication. They made sure that all of us chant in one tone along with the Pandits. So there should not be as Swami wanted it. We had a great blessing of learning it. In fact, as you rightly mentioned it, we have to learn it very carefully. But then I'm just reminded of the things. A small analogy of building a big mansion. While we are laying the foundation, we have to be extremely careful, take care of all the nitty-gritties, ensure that nothing goes wrong. Once the foundation is strong, then when you're laying the floors on the roof, probably you could parallelly lay so many things. Parallel processing can take place. Exactly, that is what has happened. The paralleling process, all our gurus were involved. Brother Shivashankar Sai, Brother Vednarayan, Brother Bhimeshwar Sharma, Brother Nandagopal, all were working together with us. That's, I would say in the modern language, parallel processing. So we were processed by them in a fantastic way to prepare us. That was because they were all energized by Bhagwan. And it was verily the thought, word and deed coming together. If I reflect back, this is what comes to my mind. This is a perfect example of Swami's message of being thought, word and deed. Anything can happen. And this is a small thing which always inspires me. And that is what is coming to my mind, the way we learned Vedam subsequently and joined the Pandits on the Purnahuti day, and the wonderful Purnahuti day, sitting on the Purnachandra Auditorium stage along with the brothers and the Pandits was a great blessing. Do you also recall the wonderful days from Sankranti to Shivratri?
Yes, indeed. Swami could have had any number of Vedic scholars to chant these Veda mantras during those events, but he wanted us to learn, he wanted us to chant, and we had no idea at that time that this was the beginning of a grand plan that Swami was having. In fact, that quote that was read out at the beginning of this session, that Swami's mission is to spread Sanatana Dharma and the message of Sanatana Dharma to everyone, make it known to everyone and make everybody's life sanctified. So that's exactly what he was doing with this. He was encouraging us to learn these things. And I remember looking at these pictures that are being shown, and I'm very glad to see that some of our guru is Shiva Shankar Sai and all the others are in these pictures. And Swami gave us these clothes that we are wearing in these pictures. At the beginning, we used to chant in pant and shirt, and then we changed to wearing a dhoti. And then Swami gave these clothes, which were the same clothes that Swami also gave to the scholars, the Vedic scholars. So thereby encouraging us, making us understand the importance and the value of this knowledge. So as we learned, these events were, of course, the grace and blessings we were receiving in terms of the encouragement Swami was giving us, but we were also progressing with this learning of the chants. And I remember that the one you mentioned, that from Sankranti, which is around somewhere in the middle of January, to Mahashivaratri, which is sometime either end of February or early March, we used to do 40 days of chanting of 11 times Rudram chanting as a sadhana to please Bhagavan. And so we have to wake up at 4 a.m. and by 4 a.m. we have to be there in that assembly room, and we would chant 11 times Rudram and Chamakam, finish all this chanting, make an offering to Bhagavan, and then get ready to go to college, have the entire day. And even during those days, we wouldn't skip our usual classes, Veda classes. So this was a great surcharged atmosphere. I remember, because those days we used to feel all the 3.5 hours to 4 hours of continuous chanting of Rudram, and because it was an offering towards Mahashivaratri. So the whole day, entire day used to feel like we are chanting. It used to be going on in our mind. And Swami rewarded us amply with his blessings. Every time he would recognize and he would give namaskar. Sometimes the Pada Namaskar would be 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. And he wouldn't even say, no, we have already had it once in the morning. So he would willingly and gladly give Pada Namaskar and encourage us to learn these chants. And this grew. And in the beginning, for a couple of years, maybe we were like 8 or 9 students. And every time Swami came, it's just us. But then very quickly, other students also started seeing the value of this. And then the number of students who wanted to learn grew. And eventually it became a entire student body learning with Swami's encouragement. And then it spread to an entire devotees gatherings learning across the world. In every Sai center, everybody was started learning Vedic chants. So Swami was achieving his avataric mission through this gradual progression from one level, a small group of boys, to an entire class of boys and the whole college, and then the whole Prashanti Mandir, and the entire world. All Sai devotees are now engaged in learning, chanting these Vedic mantras. And that clearly, you and I and many of our brothers had this benefit of immediately receiving the nearness of Bhagavan. Of course, we were very dear to Swami, was evident by the amount of time and attention he was giving to us during the 60th birthday celebrations. Some of these pictures that were shown are during the 60th birthday, and he was doing that. But this brings to the question, it's all right, you and I, or maybe a few other students, maybe hundreds of Sai students, were in Prashanti Nilayam, so they had this opportunity to learn and thereby receive proximity, closeness to Bhagavan and be dear to Bhagavan in the process is fine. But what would it mean to our young adults who are probably spread across the world now, and Bhagavan physically is not present in Prashanti Nilayam? So what does nearness and dearness through Vedas mean for someone who has not been to Puttaparthi probably, who has not seen Swami physically probably? What does it mean now? Does it still have some relevance to chant Vedic chants at this point of time? What do you think?
That's a deep question, Bhaskar, you have in fact touched upon a very, very important and a very deep topic. To me, nearness and dearness has so many facets and so many ways of looking at the whole thing. Nearness and dearness is always, it is the thing, something which is to be felt. Let me just take you to the simple analogy in a very simple language. Let's talk in a very simple language. Let's say there is a wonderful lotus pond filled with lot of lotuses, colorful, fantastic lotuses, colorful lotuses. And we know that when there is a pond, there are also going to be a lot of frogs, right? So the lotus beauty, the nectar in the lotus, are these frogs going to enjoy? They are very close to the lotuses. No, we all know that it's not the case. But the honeybees, which are very far, they may be in the forest, wherever they are, they know the sweetness of the honey. They know the value of the honey. Wherever they are, they come hunting for the honey. And Swami has several times told us, nearness and dearness is in the heart, because they have already experienced that honey, wherever it is. They just come to this and then partake this honey. So being physically close to Swami is a fantastic blessing. Yes, being away from Swami, there's nothing like being away from Swami once you really have the taste of honey which you have felt. So it is going to draw. In fact, where were we? We were also part of the entire society and that humanity. So we were also brought through this butter of education and Vedas. We got close together. And that's very true with our Sai movement. Verily, Sai movement is bringing in all the people. So the nearness and dearness, that is why today we are seeing that, as you have rightly mentioned, it started with a Pandit chanting Vedam in Parthi. Subsequently, it went on to boys, then all of us sisters, then this entire school and the college, then the entire devotees in the Sai Kulwant hall. And now the entire world is doing it. It has spread. We are part of the society. The question of nearness and dearness is always there in the society because we are the part of it and we are really the limbs of the society. Swami has drawn us from the society and we are there. So when I say honeybees, all the devotees who know the value and the essence of Sai literature and the Veda chanting, they are all dear to Swami. They are all near to Swami. It also brings me another nice analogy. See, we being academicians, well, not necessarily academicians, all the people have libraries. There are libraries in the institutes, libraries in the university, there are libraries in the towns, community libraries, so many libraries, correct? And these libraries, what is that? This is the treasure of wealthy knowledge. There are books, a lot of philosophy, lot of literature, lot of science, technology. Just by being close to the library, maybe my house is next to the library, do I get all that knowledge? Will I be drawn to that? Maybe because I'm in mathematics, maybe I have some theory to develop and I don't know, maybe I have to cross-refer, I have to enlighten myself, I have some thoughts, I have to sharpen, I go to the library with the interest. Why do I go to the library? I know that there is a knowledge base there and I have such an inclination to sharpen it out, to take the insight, whatever is coming out of me, to take it out. I want some help. I go with the help of my teachers. I go there, maybe just go there, refer to this book. I go there, take it out, study it. I go with an interest. So wherever I am, whether I'm in the hostel, whether I'm in very hundreds of kilometers away, that interest, which because I've already seen, this is interesting to me, this is going to do good to me. I know the value of it. Once I know the value of it, the distance did not matter. Nearness and dearness is automatic. I automatically go to the library and refer to everything, whatever I want, I get it. That's the fruit, I get it. The nearness and the dearness is in the heart and the feeling. Whoever realizes the value of it, whoever has tasted the nectarine truth, they are automatically true. They are drawn to Bhagavan. There is, so I would say that the nearness and dearness aspect is one way when it is for Gopikas in the Gopalas in Krishnavatar, for Swami students and devotees. Through them, we were all, as I said, I was brought in through the Sai family and the Sai members, Sai devotees, Sai organization were brought in. These Gopis and Gopalas in the form of Sai organization, they were already so near and dear to the values that has been brought in by Sathya Sai Seva organization. And that is what is brought. In fact, this kind of a churning which this butter is coming out is through this nearness and dearness in the form of seeing Swami's message, Swami's form, Swami's word as one and the same. When we can feel this, that is nearness and dearness. This is what Swami has prompted me to say. What do you say, Bhaskar?
That's wonderful. That is so true, because Swami often used to say that his presence and his love is available for all those who seek it. Right? One has to seek it, and it's there anytime. So that wasn't a physical proximity to Bhagavan, and that was limited to a certain time or anything. I also would like to add to what you have said. See, we know that Swami has said several times that the Vedic chants are the auditory manifestations of the cosmic truths that were revealed to the sages from India. And when they were in the exalted state of consciousness, in their deepest of meditations, that was arising out of a lifetime of penance. That's when these Vedic mantras manifested in their consciousness and as the divine vibrations. And so chanting these mantras, they, with their efforts, their penance, they attained the depth of silence in their minds. Then they saw this divine knowledge flash in their intuition. That's, you know, that they are called mantra drashtas. That means they saw the mantras, not heard the mantras, right? So that is the case with the Vedic chants. I wanted to add to what you said by saying that. So when we start chanting these Vedic mantras with accuracy and with Shraddha meaning with the dedication and faith, and the more perfection we attain in the process with a lot of practice, of course, right? Then our own consciousness would also be elevated to higher levels. So in our own inside of ourselves, we can manifest this same experience, the experience that the Vedic sages from India have had. But while they went from this, they practiced and they got the penance, then they received the mantras. Now we are chanting the mantras to tune ourselves to that frequencies. So where the divinity becomes an experience for us inside of the house. So how do we get near to God? Because of the Vedic chants, because our own consciousness starts getting elevated. The impurities in us will start getting removed. So our inner self starts getting cleansed. So this is a process that happens by way of principle. So it doesn't matter whether we understand, know it or not. Day to day, we may not say, oh, yesterday I was like this, today I'm like this. We don't need to worry. As we keep perfecting our learning and our chanting with Shraddha, with dedication and sincerity of purpose, our inside of our consciousness, that divinity will manifest. And that's the nearness. And the very, very fact that it manifested inside of us is a sign that it is dearness too. So how can we get close to God, near and dear to God by Vedic chants? This is another way to look at it, that we manifest it from within. And how do I know that God is near me, inside of me? When I experience a calm, when I experience peace, when I experience love, when I experience harmony inside of me, and therefore I manifest it outside of me, and it is spread everywhere in the process. So that is exactly the nearness and dearness that to God. Swami being physically present or not physically present never stopped him from doing anything. So that is the same with us too now. So these chants brought us near and made us dear to Swami when we were there in Prashantilayam. They continue to do so to us and to everyone who seeks this knowledge with sincerity. It will happen even now. In fact, I'm sure you will recall similar things from our own learnings, that Narayana Suktam says, Antar Bahishcha Tat Sarvam Vyapya Narayana Sthitaha. It says that both inside and outside, Lord Narayana has manifested. He is manifested. So when we do these chants, when I chant Narayana Suktam, the day these vibrations, I am filled with this vibration, we cannot help but see Lord Narayana or Swami, or whatever name you may call it, all around us, inside of us. That is the message of Veda. Is it not?
Wonderful. I think it's a great explanation from you, and thanks for this wonderful explanation. When you were narrating about Narayana Suktam, I was reminded of a similar parallels from Rudram, that nearness and dearness, Swami, that this is Vedas is very much a part and parcel of the human society without our knowing. So it is very much declared in Rudram. If you were to look at it, is one way of looking at it. if you were to recall these wonderful mantras, Om Namo Mantrine Vanijaya Kakshanam Pataye Namo Namo Bhuvantaye Varivaskrutaya Ushadinam Pataye Namo Nama Ucchair Goshaya Krandhayate Pattinam Pataye Namaha. This is the sloka from the second Anuvaka. In fact, in a very simple way, I think if we were to take each single syllable, each single word in this, we can go on expounding for great length of time. But then in a very simple way, the way it has been given in Veda Pushpanjali, which is all meant for all of us, very simple connotation. I would like to quote it directly from the Veda Pushpanjali. The mantra which I just said, Namo Mantrine, salutations to the merchant, the great merchant who has planned the business of the entire world. All the business has been planned by him. Namo Mantrine is the master of mantras. Sorry, I correct myself. The master of all the mantras. The Lord, Bhagwan himself is the source of all the mantras. He is Veda Purusha, as you rightly said, Apaurusheya. Namo Mantrine, the master of all the mantras. Namo Vanijaya. When you were to say this, salutations to the merchant, that means he's a big business. He has planned the entire business of the whole world. That's a very simple way of saying it. Of course, we could have several connotations, very deep meaning in that. In a simple way, where to say that all the things that we see, all the businesses that we see in the world is permeated by this divine vibration. If we were, then we were all to see the Namo Bhuvantaye. He is the creator of the whole universe. He is the master of the forest. Then we also see Aushadhi Nam is the Lord of all medicines. And then it's also see Uchchair Gosha Yakrandayate. If we were to see that he is verily the master of infantry, is the Lord of infantry, he is the thundering one who makes the enemy shriek, which means that the enemies in us, Arishad Vargas in us, are getting scared and they are going. If we were to see the various things which are different, whether it be any business, the worldly business or spiritual, let's call in a simple way as a business, maybe I am not fully correct, but we could say that all the activities, I would say all the activities, he is the master player. He is the one who has created all the things. In that way, all the things is permeated. All the activity, whether we go, when we say Aushadhi Nam, yes, he's the doctor of all the doctors. He is the lawyer of all the lawyers. He is permeating the whole society. Whole world is permeated by him. In fact, if we were delve deep into that, we will be able to start from our day-to-day life and go in a very philosophical way, in a big way. Not, it's really not philosophical. They are realistic. As you go stage to stage, we will go to any stage. As you rightly said, this is a part and part, that he is a part and parcel of every aspect of our life in the society or in our day-to-day activities, or as I said, both in the worldly, in the world, in this present world or in the spiritual world, in all the worlds is a part and a parcel. That's the spirit of this mantra is very much with us. And that's just, I see this as being near and dear in every aspect, in every walk of our life. So this clearly reminds me of this. As you were talking about Vedas being perceived by the rishis in their meditation, Vedas are Apaurusheya. So are you referring to the Vedas being Hindu, of Hindu origin? Is it only refer to are you referring to something like that? Can I get some more enlightenment from your side on that? What I mean to say is, isn't it universal? Or are you referring it being Hindu?
That's a great point you bring up, because Swami has often asserted that the Vedic knowledge is universal and that the Vedas belong to the humanity. And that's, in fact, as a part of his mission, that's what he actually did. It started as a small Veda Patashala in Prashantinilayam. Now it has spread to across the world and cutting across the barriers of language, nationality, etc. Everybody has learned, are learning, and are chanting and are trying to imbibe the Vedic principles in their lives. And that was the stated mission of Bhagavan. That he said, this is the reason why I have taken the avatar. It was not just to cure somebody's illness. It was not just to give what people. The goal of Bhagavan's mission, as in his own words, was to spread this Vedic knowledge across the to everyone who is ready to receive it. So this knowledge is universal, is repeated any number of times. That said, of course, it is a fact that this Vedic knowledge has come as a result of the penance by the sages in India who were Hindus, of course, but there is no denying that it is therefore a knowledge that originated in India, but it does not belong to only Indians or only Hindus, is oftentimes repeated by Swami. So yes, it is knowledge from Hindu religion, but it was brought forth with the most broad-mindedness to not limit it to any one particular religion or anything. It belongs to everyone, but it originated in that great land of spirituality, but it is everybody's. I'm pretty sure you have your own thoughts on that.
I very much agree with you, Bhaskar. As you were talking about the universality of the Veda knowledge, I want to go at a little more broad base. I would say the knowledge base as such. It immediately reminded me the way the Fermat's theorem, when Fermat proposed way back in 15th century, people realized in the 15th century in the West and the East, everywhere, the importance of the truth that Fermat had proposed. It is a mathematical theorem. It has a number of applications in number theory and cryptography, because people realized the power of it. People could see the value of it. Lots of academicians spend their time, whether they are in the East or in the West. There were no barriers. They saw the truth. When the knowledge was seen as the right knowledge and a useful thing, and which is going to ennobling, lot of academicians in the form of sages. For instance, this immediately reminds me of the great mathematician Andrew Wiles. Andrew Wiles spent his life, if you were to go back to the history of Andrew life stories, he only dreamt and read about Fermat all along his life. And finally, this open problem, which was open for more than 300 years, it was cracked by him. We were able to, so what is it that, so there was no barrier. Fermat was not exactly in the same domain where Andrew Wiles lived, but there was no barrier. There was no barrier because the knowledge, the significance, the value of it is acknowledged. Once you acknowledge, whether it is Fermat, whether it's Andrew Wiles, it did not matter. The same thing happened subsequently when Ramanujam expounded his wonderful theorems somewhere in a small town in India, hardly somewhere in London, could see the importance of it, and he was brought Ramanujam up. Why did he bring? Because the knowledge, he saw the truth in it. So where is the barrier? Whether it is India or it is UK, it did not matter as long as the truth was perceived. Hardly saw the truth in what Ramanujam said. Andrew Wiles saw the importance of what Fermat did. So there were no, when it is a knowledge sharing and knowledge giving, which is for the welfare, for the good of the humanity, well, there is no barriers. This is very true. The rishis who went on penance, sacrificing everything. Why did they do that? Just with the noble thought, as you rightly put it, for the welfare of the entire humanity, for the well-being of the whole world. So it being Hindu has definitely the essence of it is for everyone. So when it was seen by Einstein, Einstein's theory, the utility of it was felt by everyone, and Einstein was respected not just as an Einstein, but for the energy and the power and the truth that he has seen it. That's the value. So when that being the case, when the whole humanity is going to be uplifted by this Apaurishaya, whatever has been perceived by the sages and the saints, definitely it being Hindu origin, we should definitely say, very proudly it is of Hindu origin, just as we proudly say Newton has discovered gravity, just because the truth, it's a fundamental truth that he has discovered, and then we all feel happy to quote. And I also feel that quoting them gives a special inspiration. When I say that so-and-so as Ramanujam has done this theorem and proof, if I say it is from Ramanujam, when Hardy has proved it, or Fermat has proved it, so people listening to this will say, so who is this Ramanujam? Who is this Fermat? Who is this Andrew Wiles? So people will get to go back to the inquiry, and they will get to see who are these great men. Their lives, the lives of these sages, the lives of these great men is a path for all the people to follow. who are all want to. That is why it is said, Mahajanaha yenagataha sapanta. So these were the people who were ennobling and coming up with such wonderful qualities, and they propounded the truth. When the truth is seen, not the person, then the land where they belong to, when it is seen, then Mahajana yenagataha sapanta. Everybody can do that. Whoever chants the Vedas will be able to get that energy. So it is also reminds me, in terms of Vedas being about to share the very, in our times, Gandikota Subramanya Shastri Garu, when he was in Vrindavan, the way he saw Sai Gayatri mantra, Swami was coming out of the Vrindavan, when he was coming out of the Vrindavan house there, Tari Vrindavan, he could chant Sai Gayatri, just emanated from him. That's the perception. It's in our times, it is the verily the sages and the saints who have seen, and now this Sai Gayatri mantra is chanted across the world, and it is definitely lifting all of us. What do you say about this?
Yes, that's very nice explanation, that knowledge has no barriers, and no matter where it has originated, it is for the benefit of everyone, and nobody claims only propriety, saying that this is what I created, so it only is for me or for my family and things like that. That's a great point. I would like to add 2 points to that. That while that is the case, and as academicians we know this, and anybody who is a student knows this, that when we use somebody's work, if I am doing research, and obviously I'm not waking up on fine morning and trying to create an entire subject all by myself. So when I'm doing my research in differential equations or in any other subject, obviously I'm reading the works of many of those my predecessors, the great academicians. I'm trying to read their work, understand their work, use their work freely, which is what you said, that knowledge has no barriers. Whoever may create it, everybody is entitled to it, right? But that said, when I'm using it, I make a citation. To use somebody's work without citing their work and giving credit to the person who has created it is considered inappropriate in academic circles. You know that. That will amount to plagiarism almost, isn't it? So
Yes.
Therefore, that's where the relevance of acknowledging that, yes, it is this phenomenal spiritual knowledge has originated in India. It is discovered by the Hindu sages through their penance and practices. And therefore, that acknowledgement is, well, it's not a matter of should I or should I not do it. It is mandatory that we do it, because it's a matter, it is equivalent to citation of somebody's work. When we are using their work and deriving the benefits thereof, then we have an obligation to say, yes, we acknowledge it. And you made another brilliant point, in my opinion, that this acknowledgement is not as if we are doing some favor to those sages by saying, oh, sage Vishwamitra was the originator of Gayatri Mantra, or sage Bharadwaja is this is Sukta. We are not trying to make them famous by saying that. And the point you made is brilliant, because when we take their names, just as much as we take Ramanujans or Einsteins or Newtons or anybody's, someday somebody will be prompted to say, okay, who are these people like? What is it in that in their lives that made them discover these phenomenal things? So we go back to learn about their lives. How did they live their lives? What ideals were governing their lives? So then, by learning about them and their lifestyle, their value system, we imbibe those too, should we want to sanctify our own lives. So it's not a favor we are doing by acknowledging them, whereas it's an inspiration to us, and we elevate our own lives by trying to live our lives also in accordance with the principles by which these noble sages have lived. So universality is not even a debate. It is universal. But we have to acknowledge that this is the kind of lives these Hindu sages lived in order to receive this kind of knowledge from God. Point number one. And my next and last point is that while in these academic circles, if somebody were to make, or be it scientific or engineering, if somebody makes a discovery, then they also immediately go on to patent that discovery. So that means what? That anybody who uses that knowledge, anybody who uses that technology will have to pay for that, what they are receiving, and a part of that goes to the originator of it. and then there is nothing wrong with that. It is the norm, the way the world works. So if I'm using somebody's discovery, then I'm paying royalty. I'm paying because of the patenting process. Whatever I purchase, it's included in that, right? So, but now look at this parallel. Here are these Hindu sages like Bharadwaja, sage Bharadwaja, sage Vasishta, sage Agastya. There are countless number of them, and there's an infinite amount of Vedic knowledge. All of it out of a lifetime of penance and effort, and they shared it freely for the rest of with the rest of the humanity and for all times to come. No royalty to be paid, no patenting techniques. So when somebody gives and gives with so much love and with so much freedom and so much broad-mindedness, I should be grateful that such a thing has been passed down to me. And therefore, I would acknowledge, and I will acknowledge every single day. I will take their name, and every single day I will acknowledge them, because there is no other way I can repay my debt to these rishis. And so this rishi runa is to be paid by us if we are learning, and we are not just us. It's not going to stop with us. It will continue for our children, with our children and their children and their children. So the one way I will conclude in half a minute. One way we can show our gratitude to these rishis or the sages of the Vedic sages is that first, we can learn the Vedic knowledge. We can learn to live a life based on the principles that inspired them to discover this knowledge. Third, we can pass it down to our next generation so that this eternal knowledge, this knowledge is eternal, truly. So, and it will be eternal whether you and I do it or not. But if we do it, our lives will get sanctified. So with that attitude, yes, Vedic knowledge is universal. Yes, the Vedic knowledge has originated in India, and these are the things that were received by the Hindu sages. All of this is a fact, and we have to acknowledge, but that shouldn't stop us from saying, well, I'm not a Hindu, so why should I learn? If the knowledge has no barriers, is an excellent point you made. Please.
Thank you very much, Bhaskar, for such a wonderful explanation. In fact, you have said it very clearly, knowledge has no barriers. So I would like to, I think we can summarize the various, our discussion, this satsang, through this wonderful song. I request you to join me in this, singing this song. Swami has prompted me to sing this song. I also pray to Bhagavan to permit me to sing this song, and I request Bhaskar to join me, because I feel that all the discussion that we have made probably is contained, various points are definitely contained in this small song which Swami has time and again has sung, and I am sure this will be reverberating. The moment we start the song, it will be reverberating in the hearts of all our brothers and sisters who are listening. But I think the essence is definitely there. So let us...
I just want to add to
right.
one last thing that,
right.
So in doing this, with this mode, with Sathya Sai International Organization, young adults, I really commend them for taking up this kind of an activity to promote this learning and do it in a systematic manner, do it properly and propagate it, learn it, talk about it by means of this kind of webinars. It's a great thing. It is important for people to understand why we are learning, what is the meaning of that we are learning, and how should we be learning, and all these. So this, you see, when we chant, you are sitting there thousands of miles away from me, and you and I are chanting Sahana Bhavatu or any Vedic chant together. We both will chant in the same manner, in perfect unison, and so there is no variation. That brings about the unity automatically amongst all the devotees, right? And whoever is chanting, whoever is the student of Veda, that unity comes. And when unity comes, purity comes. When purity comes, divinity manifests. So will Vedas make us near and dear to God? Absolutely, and 100%. I think it's almost time. So let us conclude with a prayer to Bhagavan.
So I would request Bhaskar to join me in singing this song, Pata Paduma Krishna. So I believe that the Swami has prompted us to share this, remind ourselves. All of us know this song, remind ourselves, because the entire Vedasara Swami has very nicely packed in this particular song. So pardon us for our voices, but I think voice will not really matter. What matters is the Bhava. I believe that Swami is prompting all of us to sing this song. Bhaskar, you will join me.
Yeah, just to quickly translate it, the song means that you are praying to God to sing through us, sing for us, and the essence of the Vedas and the Upanishadic texts, etc., pour it into this song, flute that you are playing, and let that sound flow from us, through us. That's the essence. Please.
So please join me. Pata paduma Krishna palukute nalulukunatula Mataladuma Mukunda Manasu Tiraga
Veda
Saramantati Nadarupa Mugamarchi Venuvandu Tirugabosi Ganarupa Mugamarchi Patapaduma Krishna Palukote Nalulukunatula Mataladuma Mukunda Manasutiraga Veda Saramantati Veda Saramantati Ganarupa Mugamarchi Veda Saramantati Nadarupa Mugamarchi Venuvandu Tirugabosi Ganarupa Mugamarpu Patapaduma Krishna 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 Krishna. As Brother Bhaskar mentioned, it's very important for us to recall the wordings. Veda Saramantati si Nadarupa Mugamarchi. It's a universality. Veda Saramantati si. From where is he taking out this Veda Sara? In fact, Deho Devalayaha. Our body is verily a temple of God. This body is Kshirasagara. In this Kshirasagara, Narayana is sitting and we churn out in this Kshirasagara to take the Veda Sara in the butter in the form of Veda Sara. This Veda Sara, when it is taken out from this Kshirasagara called body by the churning process, Gana, what is that? Nadarupa Mugamarchi. When you take out this Veda Sara and convert into Nadarupa, what is a Nadarupa? Sari Gama Padanisa for us. Satya Dharma Shanti Prema. This is how it is taking out. When you take this Veda Sara, which is essentially look in the form of Satya Dharma Shanti Prema, Venuvandu Tirugabosi, which is what is this flute? This body is verily the flute. And the Satya Dharma Shanti Prema, if our body were to permeate, if our activities were to permeate with this Satya Dharma Shanti Prema, this is Venuvandu Tirugabosi. The Veda Sara is being seen in our daily activities, in our thought, word, deed, and action. Venuvandu Tirugabosi Ganarupa Mugamarpu. When Satya Dharma Shanti Prema is emanating through this body and the holy activities Gana Rupa Muga, when it is going to permeate from generation to generations. In fact, this is universality. Where is there any boundaries for this? So let us once again chant these last two lines and conclude.
I think we may be already out of time. So I'm really excited that I'm sure you can go on for a long time explaining this beautiful song to all of us. I'm pretty sure we are running out of time. So I again offer our gratitude to Bhagwan and to all our gurus, and also grateful acknowledgement to this beautiful young adults team which has made this webinar possible, that they brought us together to share our recall our memories and relive those memories. It's a phenomenal thing. I pray that Bhagwan's grace will continue to inspire generations of young adults to continue to learn this Vedic knowledge and make it as an offering, make their lives as an offering at divine lotus feet. Jai Sai Ram from my side.
So I also take this opportunity to thank Bhagwan for giving us, blessing us with this opportunity. Also thank the young adults coordinators, young adults group for giving us this opportunity. So we are extremely thankful for giving us this opportunity. Jai Sai Ram.
Respected elders and dear brothers and sisters, loving Sai Ram to all of you. The young adults from all around the world have been on an arduous yet inspiring and a holy journey of learning the Vedas. We are so very thankful to our dearest Lord for providing us this opportunity and the time to spread the divine knowledge imparted through the sacred Veda. It's an honor to listen to our seniors and fellow young adults whose love towards the Veda keep motivating us. Thank you, Professor Bivi, Rathish Kumar, and Professor Tenali Gnana, Bhaskar, for an enlightening and inspiring presentation. And thank you for motivating the young adult to continue their journey with the Veda. We hope that the participants have benefited from your experience and message on the nearness and dearness through the Veda. Your message reminds us that the Veda is the repository of knowledge, and through the Veda, one can know the code of right knowledge and right duty in our journey from birth to death. On behalf of the young adults, we thank our respected elders, the young adult leaders across the zones and countries, the Veda resource person who have been an immense support to the young adult learners and trainers. Your continuous support and the love has largely contributed to the learning process. Dearest Bhagwan, we pray for your continuous guidance, love, and blessings to continue on our sadhana, the journey within, through the Veda. Dear brothers and sisters, please wait for more detail on our next Veda webinar. Jai Sai Ram.
परिपालयन्ताम् न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम् समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति